Hey, let me show you something real quick.
Damn!
Now see, where I'm from, this is what autumn Sundays are all about. Making Italian food that's warm, hearty, and most importantly, simple. This is like Italy in a bowl, and it was made using just one pot. Now let me show you how it's done. No, I don't have a video camera, but maybe if you subscribe, we can work that into the budget. Besides, we don't need all that. I'm not rebuilding a carburetor or performing your grandmother's hip replacement. We're just making some food over here, so let's do it. This is what you need. It's nothing fancy. It's all mid-tier stuff that you find at any grocery store. Most good Italian food that you make at home is about simple, humble ingredients cooked with classic techniques. And of course, love. You don't need shaved white truffles or 200-year-old balsamic vinegar. Just your wits, okay, Tommy? So let's get started. Put down a bit of olive oil and start searing your sausage. Make sure you get a bit of a sear on one side, flip it over, and then use your wooden spoon or whatever to start breaking it up. Now see this onion?
Damn!
That's not a trick of the camera. I'm actually a wizard, but you can just dice it up. Now throw that shit in and give it all a stir. Let the onions cook until they turn translucent, but make sure you're ready to support their life decisions. Now, see all that garlic? If you think that's too much, then guess what? You're too much.
Damn!
When the onions are done, toss in the garlic. You don't want to do these together because the garlic will burn and then everything will taste like
shit.
Once your kitchen starts to smell good, take your tomato paste and, this is a very precise measurement, squeeze a fuck ton of it into the pot and give it a stir. You're going to want to let the tomato paste cook for a few minutes so it caramelizes and adds a depth of flavor. Okay, we got a good base of flavor going here, so let's start building on that structure. Add a bunch of dried oregano, red pepper flake, and some fresh cracked black pepper. I mentioned before that this is made with simple ingredients and to not worry about using anything fancy, but if using a pepper grinder is fancy to you, then I don't know what to tell you. If you have pre-ground pepper, throw it away and get a grinder. It's like $3, and the difference between using pre-ground and fresh ground is like the difference between a cup of coffee you made 5 minutes ago and a cup of coffee you made 5 days ago.
How fresh is that coffee?
I generally make a fresh pot every week.
Also, you may have noticed I haven't added any salt. That's because we aren't cavemen. We're using pork, tomato sauce, and cheese, all of which already have salt in them. So we're going to wait until the dish is finished, taste it, and then add it accordingly. Because as someone who must have impregnated a bunch of women once said, once you put it in, you can't take it out. Alright, now there's already a ton of tomato flavor in there, but this is Italian, and you know that shit is like crack to them, so let's add some more. Throw a jar of tomato sauce in there. Now take that jar and fill it up with water and throw that in as well. Now do that again. You might be thinking you totally just water down the shit out of all that sauce, and you'd be right, but shut the fuck up. That's what the tomato paste was for. We're making a supercharged tomato broth, and it'll be fine. Bring that shit to a boil and turn your heat down to medium-low. What you want is to see bubbles occasionally burbling. Now put a lid on it and fuck off. No, seriously, I don't care what you do, but leave it alone to simmer for like an hour. One trick I like to use is to stand in my front yard and count to 3,600 loudly by screaming at any cars that pass by. I don't think that makes the dish any better, but it might. Okay, it's been an hour. What you'll find is that the olive oil and rendered sausage fat has risen to the surface. You could skim that fat off if you're a bitch, or you could use this one trick that Gordon Ramsay hates. We're going to use our secret weapon and add the pasta, but not just any pasta. Let me introduce you to the star of the show, orzo.
Damn!
It looks like rice, but it isn't. It's a pasta. The one that hardly gets used because most people are buying macaroni or spaghetti. But we're smarter than all those people and probably better looking. So we're going to give our sauce a stir and crank that heat back up to get it to a decent boil. Once it's there, throw the orzo in. You're going to want to start stirring immediately and continually to prevent it from sticking to the bottom or clumping together. Now, what makes this pasta so special? Well, I mentioned before that the water and fat in the sauce have separated, but when pasta cooks, it releases starch, which acts as both a thickening and binding agent, causing the water and fat particles to bond together while thickening the sauce into a nice creamy consistency. If you were to try this trick with any other pasta, it would most likely cook unevenly and become stodgy and gross. But orzo are just these tiny, chill, rice-like bits that cook up nicely in sauce and soak up the tomato flavor. In about 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to have a pretty kick-ass, hearty autumn meal, but it's time to throw this into overdrive using our last two ingredients. This is a bag of grated Parmesan. It's $5, it tastes like almost nothing, and frankly, it's a disgrace. This is a block of Parmesan. It costs like $7, and if you graded it all, you'd have about 10 bags worth of this garbage. Just get the block for Christ's sake. Okay, so we're stirring our sausage, tomato, orzo, and periodically grating Parmesan in while stirring it. It's becoming thicker and creamier, and you might not think there's any way it gets any better, but just wait. See this basil? You may be thinking, that's way too much basil.
Damn!
How about now? Yeah man, I don't know, that still seems like way too much. F you. Throw it in. Throw it all in and give it a stir. It'll wilt and you'll barely be able to see it, but it will add a strong herbaceousness that cuts through the richness and the fattiness and just sings on the taste buds. And that's it. Taste it for seasoning, add salt if you need to, and portion up a bowl.
Damn!
Oh, this is a microplane. They're about $10, but they're one of those kitchen tools with about 1,000 uses. You can use a box grater if you like, but I would recommend getting one of these. They create these super delicate snowflakes of cheese that just look cool and melt really easily. That's it. It's super tomatoey, garlicky, sausagey, basil-y, and all with the creaminess of a well-made risotto. Make it and enjoy as the cooler weather settles in.